Every video about Sigma males is wrong. Not because they're lying, but because they're explaining it from the outside looking in. I'm about to explain it from a perspective nobody has used before. And once you hear this, you'll never see Sigma males the same way again. Look, I've watched hundreds of videos about Sigma males. They all say the same things: independent, mysterious, lone wolves, strategic thinkers, cool loners who don't need anyone. But that's surface level. That's describing behaviors without explaining the psychology underneath. That's telling you what Sigma males do without explaining why they're wired this way. That's why I'm glad to have the Wing Girl method sponsoring today's video. Founded by Marnie, your personal wing girl, a dating expert with 1.4 million YouTube subscribers and features on MTV, Dr. Drew, and Ask Men. Her mission is simple: help men actually get women. Let's face it, most guys are terrible at flirting. Marnie's F formula fixes that. It's a science-backed system used by tens of thousands of men to attract women, build confidence, and finally stop sabotaging themselves.
I can honestly say this is better than all of the therapy that I've had. It changed my life because all of a sudden I realized there's nothing wrong with me.
Because the Wing Girl method is sponsoring this video, you can grab an exclusive free preview of the F formula right now by clicking the first link in the description. And if you decide to upgrade, you'll get 20% off the full program. Stop sitting out your own love life, click the link, and take control today. Today, I'm going to explain Sigma males in a way you've never heard before. Not through traits and behaviors, but through the fundamental operating system that makes them different from every other personality type. This isn't another list of characteristics, this is the source code. And understanding it changes everything. 1. The operating system, internal validation architecture. Here's what nobody understands about Sigma males. It's not about being antisocial or mysterious. It's about having a completely different validation architecture than other people. Most humans run on external validation systems. Their sense of worth, their decisions, their identity comes from outside feedback. Alphas need dominance recognition. Betas need group acceptance. Even people who claim to be independent are usually just seeking validation from different sources. But Sigma males have an internal validation architecture. Not because they're trying to be different, not because they're arrogant, but because that's genuinely how their psychological operating system is built. Let me explain what this actually means in practice. When an alpha accomplishes something, he needs others to recognize it for it to feel real. The accomplishment exists in the recognition. If nobody sees it, if nobody acknowledges it, the win feels incomplete. His validation loop requires external input to close. When a beta experiences something, he needs to share it with the group for it to feel meaningful. The experience exists in the sharing. If he can't tell people about it, if he can't get their reactions, it feels somehow less real. His validation loop requires social confirmation to complete. When a Sigma accomplishes something, the accomplishment is complete the moment he knows he did it. Whether anyone else knows is irrelevant. The validation loop closes internally. He doesn't need external confirmation because his sense of achievement doesn't depend on it. This isn't superiority. It's just different wiring. And it creates a completely different way of moving through the world. 2. The pattern recognition engine. Why they see what others miss. Here's another piece nobody explains correctly. Sigma males aren't just observant. They have a pattern recognition engine running constantly in the background that other personality types don't have or don't use the same way. This isn't about being smart. Plenty of alphas and betas are brilliant. This is about how the brain allocates processing power and what it's optimized to detect. Because Sigma males don't participate emotionally in social hierarchies, their brain isn't using resources to track status, manage social positioning, or maintain group belonging. That processing power gets redirected to pattern recognition instead. Think about it like a computer. If you're running social awareness programs constantly in the background, those programs use RAM and processing power. Status tracking, group dynamics monitoring, reputation management, relationship maintenance. These programs run automatically for most people. But Sigma males aren't running those programs. Not because they can't, but because their internal validation architecture makes them unnecessary. So all that processing power gets allocated elsewhere, to pattern recognition, to systems analysis, to seeing connections others miss. This is why Sigma males notice things, small details, inconsistencies, patterns across different domains. Connections that aren't obvious. They're not trying to be analytical. Their brain just has resources available for analysis, because it's not using those resources for social positioning. Let me give you concrete examples of how this manifests. An alpha walks into a room and immediately assesses who's dominant, who's submissive, where he fits in the hierarchy, how to establish or maintain his position. His pattern recognition is focused on power dynamics. A beta walks into the same room and immediately assesses group cohesion, who's friends with whom, what the social norms are, how to fit in without causing friction. His pattern recognition is focused on social harmony. A Sigma walks into the same room and notices the exit routes. Who's pretending to be interested in conversations they're not interested in? Which stated reasons for being there don't match the actual reasons? What's being communicated non-verbally that contradicts the verbal communication? His pattern recognition is focused on underlying reality beneath social performance. 3. The autonomy imperative, the drive that defines everything. Here's the core motivation that drives Sigma males that nobody talks about correctly. It's not independence for its own sake. It's not about being a lone wolf or not needing people. It's about the autonomy imperative. The autonomy imperative is the fundamental drive to maintain control over your own decisions, time, energy, and life direction. For Sigma males, this isn't a preference. It's a non-negotiable psychological need, as fundamental as the need for food or sleep. Other personality types have this need too, but it's negotiable. An alpha will trade some autonomy for status. A beta will trade some autonomy for belonging. They make these trades consciously or unconsciously, because other needs are equally or more important. For Sigma males, no trade is worth sacrificing autonomy. Not status, not belonging, not money, not comfort, not security, nothing. The autonomy imperative overrides everything else. This is why Sigma males are so difficult to manage in traditional employment. It's not that they can't follow instructions or work in teams. It's that any structure that removes their autonomy feels suffocating regardless of what it offers in exchange. You can offer a Sigma male a high-paying job with great benefits and prestige. But if that job requires him to be somewhere specific at specific times, doing specific things, in specific ways without choice in the matter, he'll feel trapped. The compensation doesn't matter. The loss of autonomy is intolerable. This is why Sigma males gravitate towards self-employment, freelancing, or roles with high independence. Not because they can't work with others, but because they need control over their own time and decisions. The autonomy is worth more than the stability or income of traditional employment. This is why Sigma males struggle in traditional relationships. It's not that they can't love or commit. It's that traditional relationship expectations often involve surrendering autonomy, checking in constantly, explaining your whereabouts, coordinating schedules, compromising on how you spend your time. Other people make these compromises easily because the connection is worth it. For Sigma males, the compromises feel like suffocation. Not because they don't value the person, but because the autonomy imperative makes any reduction in self-direction feel like dying slowly. A woman might say, "Why can't you just text me when you'll be home late?" It's a reasonable request. For most people, it's trivial. For a Sigma male, it feels like surveillance, like his movements are being monitored, like he needs permission to exist. The emotional reaction is disproportionate to the request because it's not about the text, it's about the autonomy. This is why Sigma males can walk away from anything that restricts their autonomy. Jobs that pay well, relationships that are otherwise good, social circles that offer value. If it comes with autonomy costs, they'll eventually leave, regardless of what they're losing. 4. The social energy equation. Why they disappear. Everyone talks about Sigma males being introverted or antisocial. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they're running a completely different social energy equation than other personality types. For most people, social interaction generates energy, or at least breaks even. Alphas gain energy from dominating social situations. Betas gain energy from connecting with the group. Even introverts among these types get something from social interaction that makes the energy cost worthwhile. But for Sigma males, almost all social interaction is net negative energy. Not because they hate people, not because they can't socialize, but because the way they're wired makes social interaction genuinely exhausting with very little return. Here's why. Remember the internal validation architecture? Since Sigma males don't need external validation, social interaction doesn't provide the reward it provides to others. The dopamine hit that alphas get from status recognition, the oxytocin betas get from group bonding, Sigma males don't get those same rewards from social interaction. But they still have to expend the energy to participate, paying attention to conversations, managing facial expressions, responding appropriately, following social scripts. All of that takes energy. But unlike other personality types, they're not getting chemical rewards that offset the energy cost. It's like running a business at a loss. Every social interaction costs energy. Most social interactions provide minimal or no return. The equation doesn't balance, so social interaction becomes something to minimize rather than seek out. This is why Sigma males disappear. Not dramatically, not with explanations. They just gradually reduce contact until they're barely present. Then, they're gone. Not because they hate anyone, because the energy equation doesn't work, and they're conserving resources. People interpret this as rudeness or ghosting. From the Sigma's perspective, it's just rational resource management. Why would you continue doing something that costs you energy and provides no benefit? The fact that other people enjoy it doesn't change your equation. This is also why Sigma males are so selective about who they spend time with. They're not being snobby. They're being strategic about energy expenditure. If social interaction is net negative energy, you only do it when the specific person or specific situation provides enough value to justify the cost. 5. The observation position, why they stay outside. Here's the final piece that nobody explains correctly about Sigma males. It's not that they choose to be outside social hierarchies. It's that they occupy a fundamentally different position in relation to social reality. I call it the observation position. Most people are inside their social reality. They're participants. They're emotionally invested in the game. The outcomes matter to them personally. They experience social dynamics from the first-person perspective as players in the game. Sigma males occupy the observation position. They're outside looking in, not because they can't play, not because they're better than the game, but because their psychology naturally positions them as observers rather than participants. Think of it like watching a chess match versus playing in the chess match. When you're playing, you're emotionally invested. Each move matters. You're trying to win. Your ego is involved. You can't see the whole board objectively because you're in it. When you're watching, you can see both sides. You notice patterns the players miss because they're too invested. You can predict moves because you're not emotionally involved in the outcome. You understand the game better precisely because you're not playing it. That's the observation position. Sigma males are watching the social chess match while everyone else is playing it. They see patterns the players miss. They understand dynamics that participants can't see objectively. They predict outcomes that surprise people who are emotionally invested. This isn't arrogance. This isn't thinking they're above everyone. It's just the natural position their psychology places them in. They can't not observe. They can't fully participate because their internal validation architecture doesn't require participation for self-worth. This is why Sigma males seem detached or aloof. They're not trying to be detached. They're literally observing from outside while everyone else is participating from inside. The detachment isn't a choice. It's a perspective. These 5 psychological structures create everything that looks like Sigma male behavior from the outside. The independence, the detachment, the mysterious nature, the selective socializing, the clarity about human nature. All of it comes from these fundamental differences in how the psychology is structured. You can't become a Sigma male by imitating behaviors. You either have this operating system or you don't. You can't install it. It's not a choice. It's how you're wired at a fundamental level. If you recognized yourself in this explanation, you finally understand why you've always felt different. Why the normal scripts don't work for you. Why what seems obvious to others seems insane to you, and what's obvious to you seems weird to them. You're not broken. You're not wrong. You're just running different software on the same hardware as everyone else. And that makes everything work differently. If this explanation finally made you understand yourself or the Sigma males in your life, drop a comment with operating system and tell me which of the 5 structures resonated most. If you're a Sigma male who's been trying to explain yourself to others and failing, share this video. It does the explaining for you. And if you're not a Sigma, but you finally understand someone who is, remember, they're not trying to be difficult. They're just navigating reality from a completely different position than you are. Understanding that makes everything make sense. Until next time, understand your operating system.